I am about to tell you something that may sound simple at first, but if you are over the age of 60, this information could be one of the most important things you ever learn about your health. This information has been hiding in plain sight for years. You see it every time your blood pressure is checked. Two numbers, one on top, one on the bottom.
You have seen these numbers hundreds of times. Your doctor mentions them at almost every visit. A nurse writes them down quickly, often without explanation. Yet there is one critical truth that most people are never told clearly. For the majority of adults over 60 years old, one of these numbers is far more dangerous than the other. And what may surprise you is this: the number that causes the most damage is often not the one people focus on. My name is Dr. Claire Whitmore. For more than 20 years, I have worked in cardiovascular medicine. I have treated thousands of patients whose hearts, brains, and kidneys were damaged by high blood pressure. I have stood in operating rooms holding weakened hearts. I have seen patients who could no longer speak clearly after a stroke. I have watched strong, independent people lose their independence in a single moment. And again, I saw the same tragic pattern. These people were not careless. They were not irresponsible. They were not ignoring their health. They were watching the wrong number. They were reassured when they should have been warned. They were told everything was fine when silent damage was already taking place. What I am going to share with you today is not speculation. It is not a theory. It is based on decades of large-scale research involving millions of people. By the end of this video, you will clearly understand which blood pressure number poses the greatest threat after the age of 60. You will understand why this risk increases as you get older. And you will understand why recognizing this now can protect your heart, your brain, and your future. This information can save lives, but only if it is understood and acted on. So please stay with me. Let us begin with the basics, because understanding the foundation makes everything else clear. When your blood pressure is measured, a cuff is wrapped around your arm and inflated. This process measures the force of blood pushing against the walls of your arteries. But blood pressure is not constant. It rises and falls with every heartbeat. That is why your reading includes two numbers. The top number is called systolic pressure. This is the highest level of pressure in your arteries. It occurs at the moment your heart contracts and pushes blood outward into your body. You can think of it like a powerful wave crashing forward. The bottom number is called diastolic pressure. This is the lowest level of pressure. It happens when your heart relaxes briefly between beats. This is the calm moment between waves. So if your blood pressure reading is 150/90, it means the peak pressure during a heartbeat is 150, and the resting pressure between beats is 90. For many years, doctors treated both numbers as equally important. If either number was elevated, it was considered dangerous. But over time, as researchers followed people for decades, a clearer picture emerged. They tracked who developed heart disease, who suffered strokes, who developed kidney failure, who lived longer, and who did not. A pattern began to stand out. And that pattern became especially clear in people over 60 years old. To help you understand this, I want to share two real patient stories. Their experiences reveal why this topic matters so much. The first patient was a woman I will call Eleanor. She was 73 years old when she came to see me for a routine heart evaluation. Her blood pressure reading that day was 165/70. Eleanor was pleased. She smiled and said, "Doctor, my bottom number looks great. I worked very hard to keep it low. I know the top number is a bit high, but everyone says that happens with age." She believed she was doing well. Her doctors were not alarmed. After all, her diastolic pressure looked excellent. But 6 months later, Eleanor suffered a major stroke. The left side of her body became weak.
Her speech was slurred. Her independence was gone. The cause was not sudden. It was the result of years of elevated systolic pressure, silently damaging the blood vessels in her brain. The second patient was a man I will call Thomas. He was 68 years old. His blood pressure reading was 128/95. Thomas was frightened. He told me he had read that the bottom number was the real danger. He was convinced his heart was under constant strain. We ran a full evaluation.
His heart structure was healthy. His arteries showed only minimal disease. Yes, his diastolic pressure needed attention, but his overall risk was far lower than he feared. Two patients, two blood pressure patterns, two very different outcomes. This leads to the question you are probably asking right now. Which number is more dangerous, the top number or the bottom number? The answer depends on age. If you are young, the risk profile is different, but after the age of 60, the evidence becomes very clear. And in the next part, I will explain exactly what decades of research reveal. I will show you why the top number becomes the dominant threat as you age, and why misunderstanding this has cost so many people their health. This is where clarity replaces confusion, and this is where real prevention begins.
In the first part, you learned that after the age of 60, the top blood pressure number becomes far more dangerous than most people realize. Now, I want to explain why this happens. Once you understand the reason, the risk will no longer feel mysterious. It will feel logical, and more importantly, it will feel preventable. To understand this, we need to talk about your arteries. Your arteries are not meant to be stiff pipes. They are living, flexible structures. When you are young, your arteries are soft and elastic. Each time your heart beats, your arteries gently expand to absorb the force of blood. Then they relax and spring back. This flexibility serves an important purpose. It protects your organs from being hit with full pressure every single heartbeat. Think of it like shock absorbers on a car. They smooth out the bumps in the road so the ride does not damage the vehicle. When arteries are flexible, systolic pressure stays relatively lower.
At the same time, diastolic pressure stays slightly higher because the arteries maintain gentle tension between beats. But aging changes the system. As the years pass, the elastic fibers in your artery walls begin to break down. They are gradually replaced with stiffer tissue. Calcium can accumulate, plaque can form. Your arteries slowly lose their ability to stretch. They become more rigid. When this happens, something very important changes in your blood pressure pattern. When your heart contracts and sends blood forward, stiff arteries cannot expand to absorb the force, so the pressure spikes. This causes the systolic number to rise. Then, when your heart relaxes between beats, stiff arteries do not recoil properly. Because they cannot spring back, the pressure during rest does not stay elevated. This causes the diastolic number to remain normal or even drop.
This is why so many adults over 60 develop a pattern where the top number is high and the bottom number looks fine. This pattern is called isolated systolic hypertension. For many years, doctors were uncertain how dangerous this really was. Some believed it was simply part of normal aging. Some assumed that if the bottom number looked good, the risk must be low. We now know that assumption was wrong. Very wrong. Large long-term studies followed people with this exact pattern for decades. The results were clear and consistent. People over 60 with elevated systolic pressure had dramatically higher rates of stroke, heart attack, heart failure, kidney disease, and premature death, even when their diastolic pressure was normal. This is because systolic pressure represents the peak force hitting your organs with every heartbeat, and that force causes cumulative damage. Let us talk about what that damage looks like inside the body. First, the brain.
The blood vessels that supply your brain are small and delicate. They are not built to tolerate repeated high pressure. Each time systolic pressure surges, it places stress on these vessels. Over time, tiny weak spots form. Some vessels rupture, causing bleeding strokes. Others narrow or become blocked, causing ischemic strokes. Even worse, many strokes caused by high systolic pressure are silent. They do not cause immediate symptoms. Small areas of brain tissue die quietly. Year after year, these tiny injuries add up. This is one of the major causes of memory loss, confusion, personality changes, and vascular dementia in older adults. Many cases diagnosed as Alzheimer's disease are actually the result of long-term uncontrolled systolic hypertension. Next, the heart. Your heart is a muscle. When it has to pump against high pressure repeatedly, it adapts by growing thicker. This condition is called left ventricular hypertrophy. At first, this thickening may seem helpful.
But over time, it becomes dangerous. A thick heart muscle becomes stiff. It does not fill properly. It cannot relax normally. This leads to heart failure. Not the sudden kind caused by a single heart attack, but the slow, progressive kind that steals energy, breath, and quality of life. Many older adults with heart failure never had a heart attack. Their hearts simply wore out from years of pumping against elevated systolic pressure. Now, let us talk about the kidneys. Your kidneys contain millions of tiny filtering units. Each one depends on fragile blood vessels to function properly. High systolic pressure damages these vessels. As kidney function declines, the body becomes less able to regulate blood pressure. This creates a vicious cycle. Higher pressure damages the kidneys. Damaged kidneys raise blood pressure even more. Left unchecked, this process can end in kidney failure and dialysis. Now, I want to address a very common misconception.
Many people believe that as long as the bottom number is low, they are protected. This is not true. In fact, there is a dangerous situation that occurs in some older adults where systolic pressure is very high and diastolic pressure is very low. This creates a large gap between the two numbers. This gap is called pulse pressure. A wide pulse pressure is a sign of severe arterial stiffness, and it carries its own risks. Here is why. The arteries that supply blood to the heart muscle itself receive most of their blood flow during the resting phase between beats. That resting phase depends on adequate diastolic pressure. If diastolic pressure becomes too low, the heart muscle may not receive enough blood, even if the main arteries are open. This can cause chest pain and heart injury. So the goal is not high systolic and low diastolic. The goal is balance.
But when priorities must be set in older adults, decades of evidence show that controlling systolic pressure provides the greatest protection. This understanding changed medical guidelines. Modern recommendations emphasize systolic control as the primary target after 60, not because diastolic pressure does not matter, but because systolic pressure causes the most widespread and devastating damage when it remains elevated. Now, let me clarify something important. Lowering systolic pressure does not mean lowering it recklessly. Treatment must be individualized. Very frail adults or those with certain medical conditions may need slightly higher targets to avoid dizziness or falls. But for the vast majority of people over 60, lowering systolic pressure safely reduces the risk of stroke, heart attack, and death. Clinical trials have proven this repeatedly. Treating isolated systolic hypertension reduces stroke risk by roughly 1/3.
It reduces heart attack risk significantly, and it reduces overall mortality. This is not a small effect. This is one of the most powerful preventive interventions in modern medicine. Yet many people never receive it because they were told the wrong number mattered. In the next part, I will show you exactly what to do with this information. I will explain current treatment targets in plain language. I will walk you through lifestyle strategies that specifically lower systolic pressure, and I will explain when medication becomes not just helpful but necessary. Most importantly, I will show you how to advocate for yourself so this silent danger does not go untreated. That is where real protection begins.
Now you understand the truth that changes everything. If you are over the age of 60, the top blood pressure number is not just another measurement. It is the strongest warning signal your body gives you about future risk. So the most important question now is this: What should you do about it? I want to be very clear and very practical in this final part, because knowledge alone does not protect you. Action does. Let us start with what current medical guidance actually means for you. Today, high blood pressure is defined as a systolic pressure of 130 or higher, or a diastolic pressure of 80 or higher. That definition applies to adults of all ages. But for older adults, especially those over 65, doctors now recognize something crucial. Controlling systolic pressure is the primary goal. For many healthy older adults, the ideal target is to bring systolic pressure below 130.
In some individuals, lowering it even further provides additional protection, as long as it is done carefully and gradually. For very frail individuals, or those with multiple medical conditions, slightly higher targets may be safer. The key point is this: if your systolic pressure is consistently above 130, and especially above 140 or 150, it deserves attention and treatment. It should never be dismissed simply because the bottom number looks good. Now let us talk about how systolic pressure is lowered in real life. There are two major pillars of treatment: lifestyle changes and medication. Both matter. Both work best together. First, lifestyle. Lifestyle changes are not optional. They are the foundation. The first and most powerful change is reducing sodium intake. Most people consume far more sodium than they realize. It hides in processed foods, packaged meals, breads, sauces, soups, and restaurant food. Excess sodium causes the body to retain fluid. More fluid increases pressure inside your blood vessels. Reducing sodium can lower systolic pressure by several points on its own. That reduction becomes even more powerful when combined with medication. The second change is body weight. If you are overweight, even modest weight loss can significantly reduce systolic pressure. This is not about perfection. It is about progress. Small, steady changes create real benefits. The third change is regular physical activity. Aerobic exercise, such as walking, swimming, or cycling, improves blood vessel function. It helps arteries become more flexible over time. This directly targets the root problem behind systolic hypertension. Exercise is medicine. The fourth change is alcohol moderation. Excess alcohol raises systolic pressure and weakens blood pressure control. If you drink, moderation is essential. The fifth change is stress and sleep.
Chronic stress keeps your nervous system in a constant state of alert. This raises blood pressure. Poor sleep has a similar effect. Calming the nervous system is not a luxury. It is part of treatment. Now we need to talk honestly about medication. For many adults over 60 with elevated systolic pressure, lifestyle changes alone are not enough. This is not a failure. It is biology. Stiff arteries do not become flexible overnight. Blood pressure medication saves lives. Multiple large studies have shown that treating systolic hypertension prevents strokes, heart attacks, heart failure, kidney disease, and death. There are many classes of blood pressure medications. Each works in a different way. Some remove excess fluid, some relax blood vessels, some reduce the force the heart must generate. Many people require more than one medication to achieve good systolic control. This is normal. What matters is finding a combination that works for you with tolerable side effects.
If a medication causes dizziness, fatigue, cough, or any other problem, it does not mean treatment should stop. It means the plan should be adjusted. Never stop blood pressure medication suddenly without medical guidance. Sudden withdrawal can cause dangerous spikes. Communication with your doctor is essential. Now, let us address a critical piece that is often ignored: monitoring. Checking blood pressure only at the doctor's office is not enough. You need to know what your blood pressure is doing in your daily life. Home monitoring provides that information. A validated home blood pressure monitor is one of the most valuable tools you can own. When starting or adjusting treatment, checking in the morning and evening for several days gives a clear picture.
Once stable, weekly checks help ensure control is maintained. Recording these readings and sharing them with your doctor turns you into an active participant in your care. This also helps identify two important patterns. Some people have elevated readings only in medical settings due to anxiety. Others have normal readings in the clinic but high readings at home. That second pattern is especially dangerous and often missed without home monitoring. Now I want to address two common beliefs that stop people from taking action. The first is this: I feel fine. High blood pressure rarely causes symptoms until severe damage has already occurred. The first sign is often a stroke or heart attack. Waiting for symptoms is waiting too long. This is why high blood pressure is called the silent killer. The second belief is this: my parent lived a long life with high blood pressure. This is survivorship bias. For every person who lived long despite untreated hypertension, many more did not. The data is overwhelming. Treating systolic hypertension saves lives. Now, let me give you clear steps you can take starting today. First, know your blood pressure.
If you have not checked it recently, do so this week. Second, focus on the top number. If it is consistently above 130, discuss treatment. Third, make lifestyle changes part of your daily routine. Fourth, if medication is prescribed, take it consistently. Missing doses causes harmful fluctuations. Fifth, monitor at home and keep records. Sixth, never adjust medication on your own. Seventh, stay engaged with regular follow-up. Blood pressure management is not a one-time decision. It evolves as your body changes. I want to bring this full circle with one final thought. Every day, people over 60 walk around believing they are safe because one number looks good. They trust that reassurance. They do not realize that silent damage is occurring with every heartbeat. You now know better. You understand that after 60, systolic pressure is the number that predicts your cardiovascular future.
You understand why it rises, why it damages organs, and why treating it works. This knowledge gives you power, but only action turns that power into protection. Check your blood pressure. Talk to your doctor. Make the changes. Take treatment seriously. Your heart has worked faithfully for decades. Your brain has carried your memories, your identity, your life. They deserve protection. Do not let an elevated top number quietly take that away. Now you know what to watch. Now you know what to do. And that knowledge can make all the difference.